Hi everyone, good evening, and welcome to this Google Digital Garage training session, Social Media Strategy. My name's Kirsty, and I am a trainer for Google's free skills training program, Google Digital Garage. A bit about myself: I've been working in this industry now for around 6 years, and I absolutely, my passion, my number one goal is to help small to medium businesses, startups, really start to find their place online and really start to understand how they can connect with their audiences and start to make their splash with their social media, their websites, their online presence as a whole. So I'm really excited to be delivering this session for you today. But I'm not up here alone. You may have already said hello to our lovely moderator, Mohammed, who you should be able to see in the right-hand side of this video in the chat there on the YouTube chat. Now, you'll be able to tell who Mohammed is not only by his name, but also he should have a little blue spanner to indicate that he is moderating for today's session. Why don't you, while we're going through some housekeeping, why don't you pop into that chat? Introduce yourself, let us know why you've signed in today, what is it that you're looking to take away from today's session, and that will give us a bit of an idea of who you are, where you're signing in from, and what type of organizations you're signing in from as well. And I absolutely love to make sure I know who's out there and who I'm talking to, so I can make sure it's as relevant as possible as we move through the presentation today. While you do that, I'm going to run through a little bit of housekeeping while I wait for some replies. So first of all, if you do have any trouble hearing or seeing this session as we move through today, make sure you refresh your browser. Hopefully that will help fix any technical issues. You do also have captions available for today's session, so you can hover over that YouTube video and press that button that says CC, and that should allow you to then view any captions that you may need. Other than that, I will be pausing throughout to answer any questions that do come through in the chat. But remember that Mohammed is there throughout the whole of this session, ready and waiting for your questions. And he's also going to be sharing a few links for you as well, so that you can save those for the end of the session. So I can't see anyone saying hello to me, but do have a chat. Let us know who you are, what your business is, where you're signing in from, and why you've joined in for today's session, because we really, really do like to see it and hear it and communicate with you. We can't see you, we can't hear you, but we can have a chat with you during the session. How are we going to break up today's session? Well, first of all, we're going to start by thinking about how can we use social media to really help grow our organization, our business, and start to communicate with our target audience. Then I'm going to actually break down a 5-step social media strategy that's going to really help you not only plan and know what a strategy is and what it needs to include, but also start to understand exactly what you need to measure to understand whether you've progressed, whether you've been successful, or whether you need to make improvements somewhere in your social strategy. And then I'm going to leave you in the third and final section of today's session with some best practices, some tips and hints on how you can use some certain tools for socials and how you can really make use of those best practices across the channels that you choose for your business. So I still can't see any hellos, but I would absolutely love. Here you go. We've got Joshua from North Wales. Hello, fellow North Walian. Whereabouts in North Wales? I'm from Mold, which is not far from the Coast Road on the very, very north of Wales. Then we've got the Training Brokers in Swinton. Hello to you as well. Anjit, hello, I want to grow my business and with the help of social media. Nice. Who else have we got? We've got a couple of people from India there. Really, really nice broad range of people. Amazing. Welcome everyone, and thank you for saying hello. We've also got Armani from the Philippines. So many people. Joshua, I've just seen your other comment. Recently started my job as a social media marketing assistant, and I'd like to gain a better understanding of how to build a social media strategy. Well, you're in the right place. Hopefully we can leave you with exactly that. Okay, so this is how we're going to break up the session. First section, really first starting to understand how we can actually use social media. So the information before we jump into building a strategy, why do we need to be on socials for our business? What do we need to make sure we understand about these profiles? And well, we're all aware that social media has a huge impact on how we communicate, whether that's with our friends, our family, people we don't even know, but we feel like we're part of a community with those people. It's really had an impact on our social communication. And in terms of being a business, well, our customers are live on social media. They're there, they're ready and waiting to engage with us and interact with us. 52 million active social media users in the UK, and this is a 2021 stat. 52 million active social media users in the UK. I mean, that's actually a figure that is almost unimaginable to imagine 52 million people in front of you, right? It's a huge amount of people on various channels and platforms. And the average time spent per day on social media is 110 minutes. Now, for many of you, you might see 110 minutes, oh, just over an hour and a half. That's actually quite low for me. And I know for me, with my work and everything that I do, 110 minutes per day on social media is definitely very, very low for my use. How about you? Tell us in the chat, do you think you spend more than 110 minutes a day on your social channels, or do you think you spend less? I'd love to see that in the chat. But the two sort of leading platforms in the UK, YouTube and Facebook, seem to be very, very, very far, with 85% of UK users using YouTube and 78% actually on Facebook. So really, really interesting. Now I can see some questions coming through asking me about Indian statistics. Now, unfortunately, that's not my area of expertise, but I'm sure you can have a Google and you can find some of those stats for India in 2021 if you do some research in your own time after the session. The training brokers, it sucks up your time, and do not go on it. I don't go on it only to promote the business. Interesting. Okay. So yeah, I agree. Actually, prior to the session, I definitely spent way too much time looking at TikTok than I should have been getting through emails. But it's interesting that you go on it to promote the business, because actually, as an organization, it's not just about posting. It's not just about having your business page and posting content onto that page. As a business, you need to be on there also spending time interacting with other people in your industry, potential customers that have commented on your posts. So it's tricky. It's tricky to find a balance. You're absolutely right. More or less time as the UK people have reduced much time on your social media. Yeah, interesting. Really interesting in terms of the conversations I've had recently definitely revolve around people trying to find this balance, this sort of real life, social media life balance. Okay, so your customers are live on socials. We know they're there. And then we need to start thinking, okay, but if we're not there and we've not got a solid social media strategy, how or are we potentially missing out on connecting with people that are live? They're there and they're ready and waiting. Because using social as a business, it can help us generate more sales through using a certain channel that's going to get in front of the right audience for our organization. We've potentially got the chance to reach new audiences. We've got the chance to start creating new opportunities. Potentially, if we're going to go down the route of paid advertisement on our social media platforms, we can start to target specific types of customer. We can start to make that direct connection, which is then going to allow us to sell directly from certain platforms. Depending on what platform you're using, you can actually create a catalog of products and actually sell your products or services directly via your social media channel. So having this really strong presence with a really clear plan of action can start to help us generate more sales. It can also start to add value to our brand, because we can start to do things like raising customer service levels, things like live chats, chatbots, automatic responses, so people don't feel like they've been left in the lurch. They can really help to make our customers feel like they have made a direct connection with the real person that they can have a conversation with. Which leads us to that next point, starting a two-way conversation. If any of you in the audience today have ever contacted a brand or a business on a social media channel, think about why you've done that. Think about it. Because most of the time, the reason we do that is because we feel like we're connecting with a real person, that we're going to have a conversation, that we're going to make an authentic connection with someone that's potentially going to respond to us. So it's starting a two-way conversation. And in return, it's allowing us to create not just what we do as a business, what we sell, what our services are, but we're creating this new side to our business, perhaps something that's a little bit more behind the scenes. We can start to showcase our processes and what we care about. So we can start to build trust and in turn, a legitimacy, a brand legitimacy that makes people see the value of our organization, start to recognize our brand, and start to talk about us elsewhere, potentially online, but also in a face-to-face scenario with friends or people that need our service or products. But before I pause for questions, we can also start to use our social media to improve our overall marketing. Think about when you've used a search engine, so Yahoo, Google, Bing, whatever you've used as a search engine, and you started to Google a product, you started to Google a specific business. Think about how many times you've spotted a social media page, channel, come into those search results when you've been searching for something specific. So we can start to use that to help us get noticed and really add to our SEO, our search engine optimization, to help us appear and be super relevant to our target market in a search engine. Now, if SEO is something you want to know more about, we do have a great session which is called Get Your Business Visible on Google. So in the link, there's a link in the description of this video. Underneath the video, there's a description and there's a link directly to our site in that description where you can have a look at any of our upcoming schedule and you can book yourself onto the upcoming sessions. And one of those will be Get Your Business Visible on Google, where we talk a little bit more about how to improve your search engine optimization. Using social media can also help attract more people to our site. We can start to have what we call a call to action. We can start to tell people in a what's the right way to say this? In a nice way, in a persuasive way. By showcasing what we can do, we can give them an actionable point that we want our customers to follow through with, whether that is a link, whether that is part of our content, where we're telling them to email us or get involved with competitions, whatever it is, we can start to attract people through our socials into our website. Now, no matter what platform you're using, what channel you choose to build your social media presence on, which may be 2 or 3, it could be 1, depending on your organization and the size, we also can start to gain absolutely invaluable information when it comes to your customer insights, because every single social media platform gives you access to its internal analytics, which is fantastic because we can start to understand exactly what our customers want, what they're looking at, and actually who our customers are as well, like who is actually interacting and viewing our social media business page, and how do we start to build content, videos, images, whatever it is that your business puts out there that speaks directly to our customers' interests. And finally, because of these social channels, we can start to keep an eye on our industry peers, not only our competitors, but also other people within our industry that are going to allow us to keep up to date with anything that's trending in our industry news. We can also start to understand general consumer trends. Now, there's a great site called Think with Google. And I would recommend you sign up for the newsletter. The Think with Google newsletter often sends out researched studies on consumer trends, and some of the more recent posts have been fantastic, talking about the sort of climate trends around events that are happening in the world currently, and how that's impacting the way that people are consuming and the way that people are purchasing new goods and services. So that's step one. Starting to understand, okay, well, why should I be on social media if I am a business? Why should that happen? Do we have any questions? I can't see any so far, but remember, Mohammed is in the chat, ready and waiting for you. So if you do have any questions that come up, please do pop them in the chat. And I'm sure I can see that he's already on it with a few links there. So absolutely, he's ready and raring to go. So any questions you've got, drop them in there. And I will be pausing again if there's anything that I need to come to later in the session. So let's move into the middle section of today's live session, how to build a social media strategy. And I'm going to break this down into 5 key areas. Cavell, we have a good template. Oh, do we have a good template to write a strategy? It's like you predicted what was coming next, Cavell. So right now we're going to walk through a sort of template. So I hope you've got a notebook and a pen ready to go, because to truly make the most out of any social media platform that you decide to open for your business, we need to have a strategy. And what's really important to understand is that every single channel that you decide to create for your business needs its own strategy. I'm going to repeat that. Every single channel that you decide to open for your business needs its own strategy. There's absolutely no point in having a strategy that covers something like TikTok, LinkedIn, and Facebook. All 3 of those need their own plan of action. So what we're about to go through, every single platform needs its own strategy. Now let that land, because actually that starts to make us understand how much work that is. And as business owners, really, we're already providing the service or product. We've got to manage our customers' needs. We've got to create the content. We've got to make sure we're up to date in our industry. And one of the biggest mistakes, especially startups and small business owners make, is to start with too many platforms and they commit with too many things to be able to do well and to do consistently. So that's number 1 to start thinking about. So we're going to discuss those 5 key steps in building a strategy for a platform, and then starting to think about metrics to look at in order for us to know, are we tracking the right things? Do we know that what we're doing on this platform is actually working and we're starting to build our audience? So these are the 5 key areas when you're building a social media strategy, and we're going to walk through them one by one. And the first one, audience, really important. 2, your business goals. Why are you there? Why are you on that platform? And why are you creating this strategy? What activity and response from an audience could you get on this particular social media channel that's going to ultimately drive your overall business goals? So that's your why. What social platform have you created this strategy for? Have you chosen the right social platform for you as an organization and the setup that you have internally, but also the right social media platform for the people that you're trying to connect with? Tone of voice. Have you found your social voice and that the language that you're speaking with to your audience? Remember, we want to create this 2-way conversation. And the final step, how are you going to know that you've been successful? Have you defined, okay, we need to hit this percentage increase, we need to hit this many sales, this many engagement metrics? Have you defined exactly what success looks like for your organization, your business? So let's break these down step by step, starting with audience. Step 1, and make sure you write these down, these 5 steps, as we move through them. Understand exactly who you're trying to speak to. Something really important to remember, and it's really hard to put it into practice, and it's really easy to talk about it, but then when it comes to actually curating this persona, this audience persona, it's really, really difficult to follow through. So but I implore you to put the time in to really understand who you are trying to connect with on your social channels. Because if we try and speak to absolutely everyone that could come across our social media channel, then potentially we're going to end up speaking to no one because we haven't got a niche. So it's absolutely crucial that we start to define our audience and make sure that we know certain things about them. We start asking questions and finding the information. Who are our customers? What are they into? What influences? Who influences them? When are they online? What time of the day are they on their social platforms? And do they use a specific platform only? It's really important to take it to that next level and start to understand how you can define your audience so that you know who you're targeting. You can start really customizing your message and how you speak on your channel. And it's going to land not only to the right person in the right tone, but also it's going to land at the right time of day on the right platform. So ways that you can start understanding your audience a little bit more, because this is a lot of information that we need to find out. First of all, try speaking to real people. If you are already in a position where you've got existing customers or you've got staff members, start talking to them. Start understanding exactly what their needs are, exactly what their interests are, what are their pain points, what do they want from you and your product or service. And once you start to identify those groups of people and those individuals, start segmenting them. Once you have data and you've started to collect an understanding of exactly who you're speaking to, can you start to segment and split up your audience so you can understand exactly what type of person is interested in what part of your service or products that you have as an organization? And another way that can be a really great way of collecting data and understanding your existing audience, can you create some kind of online survey? Now, sometimes this can be really difficult to get your customers to leave things like a review, right? But if in the process of purchasing, so once they've purchased, can you follow up with an email and say, great, thank you so much. Would you mind filling out our survey? Even if you get 50% of customers fill out that survey for you, you could start collecting over time invaluable data that's going to allow you to really understand exactly what you're doing right and what you need to improve. So get to know your audience. But remember, I mentioned insights. So for those of you here today that already have an existing social media platform or channel for your business, make use of those insights. A lot of the social media platforms have this analytics, this insight tab built in once you change it over to a business page. On the page here, you can see an example from Facebook, Instagram, and also LinkedIn there. In these insight pages, we can start to see demographic statistics, age, location, the region that they're in. On platforms like LinkedIn, we can see the profession that person is in, or those groups of people are in. We can also start to see some behavior, so behavior stats around what pieces of our content is getting the most likes, the most follows, the most shares, and what time of the day this is happening as well. So really start to make use of the existing statistics and the data that your platforms are already starting to collect. Which brings us to step 2 of our strategy. So step 1, audience. There's actually a really great tool to get you started. I think it's a HubSpot tool. I don't know if Mohammed would be able to find it. I think it's called the Buyer Persona HubSpot tool. I'm sure if he finds it, he'll pop it into the chat for you. But if not, have a Google HubSpot persona building tool, and you should be able to find that as a bit of a get started place if you've never built a buyer persona before. Step 2, once you understand who you're talking to, now we need to understand exactly why we are building this strategy. We need to define our goals. Now, goals can be surrounding anything to do with our business, right? But what we need to do as marketers is we need to look at our organization goals, our business goals, and start to translate them into online goals. So what do we want to do with this particular platform? Do we want to give better customer service? Do we want to build brand awareness? Are we a new organization? We want to get in front of people that have never heard of us before. Are we looking to generate sales? Are we looking to push people through onto a particular part of our website? Or are we looking to get in front of people that have high influence status within a particular type of industry or group of people that we know is going to connect with our product or our service? So start understanding exactly why you're on that platform. And the 4 Ds of goal setting, we start with discover. We think about the goal, and feel free. I would absolutely love if there's anybody here that has a clear goal of why they want to get online. Discover that goal right now and tell us in the chat so that everyone can start to see where you're at and you're holding yourself accountable with what you want to achieve. So discover that goal. First of all, what is it you want to achieve? But take that goal further and actually understand how that helps your business. How does that online goal drive into your overall business goals? So you can start to think about, okay, have I discovered the right avenue to go down with this platform? Once you've discovered your goal, you can move into define. And this is where we start to think of any barriers, any things that are going to get in the way and they're going to stop us or prevent us or make it harder for us to reach that goal that we've just discovered. Once we know exactly what the goal is and how it leads into our business, we've defined any barriers, then we can start to develop. We can start to create this list of everything we need to achieve. So these can almost be like micro goals. So everything we need to achieve, that step, those steps we need to put in place in order to overcome any of the barriers that we've defined in step 2. And once we understand those first 3 Ds, we can finally move to the final D of the 4 Ds of goal setting, which is to deliver. We can start working towards those goals and we can take it step by step with that development plan. Now, there is actually a link from the Design Council on this slide, slide 20, Mohammed, that we can share with you in the chat, which is all about design thinking and how you can start to create value from problem solving and using this 4D framework. So step 1 of our strategy, audience. Step 2, why are you there? What's the goal? Which brings us to step 3, which is thinking about the channel. Now, is your channel going to be business focused or is it going to be lifestyle focused? What is it that's going to attract that audience from step 1? What's going to make you really be able to connect and create that 2-way conversation and start to move forward with your business goals? I've said this at the very beginning of this middle section of today's live session. Can you start with 1? Can you test it? Like a recipe. You can add salt and you can make it taste great. But if you put so many all in one go, potentially you can't take it back again. So potentially you've overwhelmed that recipe with salt. And it's the same because different channels need different strategies. And depending on what you can give as a resource of time to actually working on that channel. If you only have 2 hours a week, then having 5 different social media channels is not actually going to be productive for your business, because how are you going to keep track of everything you need to do? So step 3 is all about choosing channels and making sure that you have really made an informed decision based on your goals and based on your audience on which channel is going to be best for you as a business. Now, if you have a website and you already have that up and running, there's a great tool called Google Analytics where you can actually start to identify exactly what social channels are actually driving people to your site. So if you're in a position at the moment where you have quite a few different social media channels and you're not sure which ones are working and which ones are not, you can actually come to your Google Analytics and identify exactly which channels are working and which are not. Now, if you've not touched Google Analytics before, we also have a great session called Get Started with Analytics. So that link we shared earlier in the chat, go and have a look at the upcoming schedule and get yourself booked on to the analytics session if that's something that you are unsure of. So there's so many places that we can start to really gather this data and understanding for our audience. Now, walking through some of these channels very, very quickly. Twitter. Twitter might be great if you need to have quick fire conversations. It's a very good PR tool. We can create that professional bio. We can have our handle, the header image, the profile image. We can run polls and ask questions. So there's a lot of conversations that we can have with Twitter. My thing with Twitter is it runs very, very fast. So again, if you don't have a lot of time to be actively on a social platform and making that connection with your audience, maybe Twitter's not for you. Also depends on your industry. But Twitter can be a really great platform for having those two-way conversations. Then we have Facebook. I'm a huge fan of a Facebook business page for a lot of different types of organizations. So if your audience is a type of audience that's going to be using Facebook, great. We can link it to our main website. We can list things like our contact details, our opening hours. We can have a call to action button that again can drive people to our online shop or a contact form, depending on what our business goals are. And because of the style of the way we can post on Facebook, we can have posts that are not only images or GIFs or videos, but they also then have that body of text that's highly visible as well. So it's really a great platform. If your audience and your goals align with Facebook, there's a lot you can do with a Facebook business page. And Instagram. Now, Instagram is a place that is a very visual first platform. So we're sharing videos, we're sharing photos of anything that we do as an organization. We do have the photo caption or the reel caption, the video caption that we can use to really get people interested in what we do. One thing I would say, and it's the second bullet point on this here, is to go careful with the hashtags. What's really interesting is the hashtag conversation with Instagram has forever been a back and forth with marketers. And if you have a search of how many hashtags you should be using on Instagram, you will get so many different blogs with so many different answers. My personal advice on this, be strategic. Think about what is actually relevant to your business and to the post that you are creating for your audience. That is my number one advice when it comes to hashtags. You've got up to 30 that you can use, but potentially actually only 10 hashtags is enough, because you can talk directly to your audience with the hashtags that are relevant to the post, but also relevant to your business and the industry. Like I've said many times already, Instagram is all about engagement and actually being active. So if you do choose this as a platform, like many of the others, make sure you're connecting to influencers, you're following brands, you're connecting with real people as an organization and responding to anyone that takes the time to like your stories or comment on any of your posts. Then we have LinkedIn. Now, if you are looking to build a business to business relationship, LinkedIn can be a great tool. It's really good for recruitment, but also building a real professional network and starting to connect with other people in your industry. Now, you can, if you are someone who is a sole trader or a freelancer, you can have your personal business page on LinkedIn, but you can also have a company page and start to build that professional network around your company page. Now, what you can start to do with LinkedIn is with the analytics on LinkedIn, you can start to understand exactly what type of business some of those people are operating in. How are they actually earning their money? What disposable income they potentially have. There's so much thought leadership, product news, industry news that you can start to really be an authoritative figure in your industry. So you can start to understand, okay, how can I build content that really is longer form because we've got the space to, but is also going to showcase our knowledge in a certain area, in a certain industry. Another platform, and now this one always gets forgotten when it comes to talking about social media platforms, but it's one of the most social platforms out there. We've got YouTube. It is, yes, the second biggest search engine in the world next to Google. But it's also a really great place to be discovered online, and it's one of the most popular video sharing sites that we have that are being used regularly on a day-to-day basis. And we can again create a channel that shows that we are thought leaders, that we are in an industry and super active with that credibility. So we can start to build a voice and build a brand that connects with our audience. It's also a hugely collaborative space. So looking for potential collaborators to start growing your channel. If that's the place that you're in and you're looking to meet other people in your industry, YouTube also might be an option there as well. And how can we forget TikTok, the newest sort of platform for short form video content? It's still here. It's got 1 billion annual users, and yeah, it has got a younger audience base in a lot of ways. But think about how you could use something like TikTok to drive your engagement, drive your brand awareness, and start to create a behind the scenes, authentic video and profile that's going to connect with that audience that you created in part one of your strategy. Now, there is also the options to actually create partnerships with other TikTokers and other content creators on the platform, so you can really start to expand your reach and get in front of your key audience. Now, that was step 3 of your social media strategy, is understanding the channels available to you. Step 4, have you understood your brand social voice? Do you understand exactly how you speak as an organization to your audience? Do you know how to use the logo? What fonts, what colors, what personality? Do you know the do's of your brand as well as the don'ts? And this all comes right back down even into understanding exactly how you're going to create your images so that they are part of your brand. Make a clear decision. Start to think about, okay, can I describe my business personality in 3 words? Youthful, excited, uses lots of slang. Or maybe the one on the right on the bottom, calm, professional, warmth. So depending on your organization and your offering and what you do as a business, that's going to allow you to start to create this way of communicating with your audience. So step 4, have you done some in-depth, detailed thought process into what your business's personality is, how you use your logo, how you use your color scheme, and communicate directly with your audience? Which brings us to step 5, the final step of our social media strategy. And that is all about defining your success. In step 2, we thought about the goal that we wanted to achieve. But step 5 is all about understanding the metrics and actually how do we know that we've achieved that goal that we set out at the beginning of our social media strategy. And it's super easy to get distracted by figures and numbers that actually don't contribute to our overall goal. Things like followers, you might hear some marketers call the amount of followers, if you're just tracking followers and followers only, a bit of a vanity metric, because actually tracking the number of followers that you have can be a bit of a distraction. When really we want to be looking at traffic, we want to be looking at how many influencers are actually not just following us, but also actively connecting and engaging with us. Are we looking to improve? Again, what was the goal? Was it growth in sales? Was it improving customer service? Was it your brand awareness? Because once we start to understand exactly what question or what goal we are working towards, we can understand what metrics are going to be relevant to know that we've succeeded with that goal. Now, with step 5, we recommend that you create what we call SMART objectives. So turning those objectives from step 2 into SMART goals. So rather than I want to increase online sales, I'm going to make it SMART. I'm going to make it specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. So rather than to increase brand awareness, to increase sales, I'm going to create a clear SMART goal that would be something more like to increase our brand awareness on Facebook by growing our audience by 40%, and then giving yourself a timestamp, but in the next 6 months. So you again are giving yourself a very, very clear, measurable, and accountable way of tracking your success and progress. Before I pause and we wrap up with that final best practice section, it's really important to think about, once you've set up your profile, consider paying. It's very, very easy to think, oh, social media is free and I can start building this organically. But organic reach, unfortunately, on social media, on different platforms, is only going to get us so far. And at some point, it is worth to start thinking about setting yourself a budget and considering to start targeting directly with things like Facebook ads, Instagram ads, TikTok ads, whatever platform you're making use of. You'll get more reach. It is important across all those platforms, and especially if your current goal from step 2 is growth or is direct sales, because you can start to get in front of that very targeted audience and a big range as well, a huge range of audience. And when it comes to paying, really understand what you've got when it comes to your budget. What is possible within the budget that you've got? Do your research. Don't try and do everything at once and expect huge results from a really small budget. Remember the SMART goals. Be realistic. What can you focus on so that you're absolutely maximizing the outcome of the ads that you create? When you're thinking about the different channels and you're just getting started, how can you allocate that budget to the different online channels so that, again, you're boosting the potential that you're going to get back from those ads that you put out there? And finally, when we talk about budget, we're not just talking about financial budget. Time. Everyone forgets that actually time is a resource that we don't get back. So how can you prioritize based on a timeline what is going to work within your strategy? So those are your 5 steps to bring it all together: audience, business goals, social platforms, which channel are you going to choose, what's your personality for step 4, and finally, have you created those SMART goals to define what success looks like for you? Now we've got a couple of minutes left, and I can see Mohammed is answering some of those questions in the chat. So I will come back to any questions that are left over before we finish if we've got time. But to finish off, what are the best practices? What are some of the tools that you can start to put in use to make sure that your strategy starts to succeed? Well, first of all, what content are you sharing? Really think about your content. Now we have another social media session called Writing for Social Media, which is all about content. So we don't spend too much time here. But do you have announcements? Are you creating a balance of content that isn't boring, isn't monotonous, isn't too repetitive? But you're creating a nice blend of the different types of content. So announcements, new products, non-promotional, the behind the scenes stuff. Have you got products or brand related content that you can talk about? Things like tips and tricks on how to use your product or service. Are you actively engaging? Are you actively responding to your users? Are you hiring? Do you have job openings? Have you got things that are operational posts? Reoccurring content, things like seasons. We've got Halloween coming up. So things that are seasonal sales that you can really take part of and use and build into your content. And most of all, are they informative? Are you building things, blogs, articles, LinkedIn posts, things that are relevant to your offering, but also showcase your credibility as an industry leader? When it comes to content, the most important thing is, are you sharing experiences that other people want to share? Are you sharing things for your audience that they want to show off? They want to become a brand ambassador for the things that you're posting within your organization. Some tips around sharing great content: use great graphics. There's a really great tool called Canva that you can use for free. If you have access to a graphic designer, great, but some of us don't. So for free, we can use a program like Canva to create some really great graphics for our social channels. Have you checked your grammar? There's a great free tool, again, called Grammarly that you can install as a Chrome extension that's going to not only check your spellings, but it's also going to check the grammatical mistakes and the grammatical sense of your sentences when you post online. And finally, are you using features like stories? Again, short form stories, short-lived content. It's going to expire after 24 hours, but it allows you to make that personal connection with the people that are following you. And the last point before we finish today, and thank you for sticking with me for these extra couple of minutes, but make sure your content is relevant to that audience you built in step 1 of your strategy. Post regularly. Now, I've hit on this a little bit. Regularly is going to look different for everyone. It might be that you being able to post consistently, that you only post to get started once a week. Fine. Can you post once a week, every week, without fail, so it is consistent, so people know when you're going to post? You can always add more. There's no right or wrong answer when it comes to regularly and consistency. It's something that you're going to build up as a business. It's really about that consistency. And finally, how are you going to manage those social media accounts as they continue to grow? And I've just seen a question come through. What tools are out there to schedule posts, which is all about this third point. I mean, there's plenty of tools. There's Buffer, there's Hootsuite. If you're using Twitter, there's TweetDeck. There's Sprout Social. There's loads of different tools. If you're using Instagram and Facebook, why not use the internal tools that are available? They have scheduling tools within that sort of Meta business suite that you can use for both platforms. Understand exactly how you're going to utilize those tools and what's best, again, for your budget and your resources. And that brings us to the final pausing for questions, but I've just asked the question that came through in the chat. In terms of next steps, I've mentioned a couple of sessions for you to attend: Writing for Social Media, Get Visible on Google, or Get Your Business Visible on Google, and also that analytics session that we also have. So check out the link in the description of this video, and I'm sure Mohammed will repost that to have a look at the upcoming schedule for our sessions. Also on that website, on our Google Digital Garage website, we've also got a certification that is called the Fundamentals in Digital Marketing. So those that are here and you're completely new and you want to get a bit of an overview of this umbrella term called digital marketing, definitely have a look at that certification that we've got on offer at no cost at all. Other than that, if you've got any feedback, we're going to pop a link in the chat. We'd love to hear it. And if you could spend a couple of minutes filling that out, we'd love to hear your feedback. But thank you so much for all your questions, your interaction. I really hope this has been useful for you today, but I'm going to wrap up here because I'm over time by a few minutes there. But thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you in many, many more Google Digital Garage training sessions in the future. Good night.